Well, I think it's quite likely that there will be at some point in the not-too-distant future another nuclear test by the North Koreans. I'm not sure exactly when that will occur, and I don't know if it's going to happen quickly or not. But in any case, they're well along on this path of theirs to the development of nuclear weapons. And testing is an important feature of that program. So I expect there will be another test at some point in the relatively near future.
You know, we're really used to this cycle that we hear all the time. So they have the test, there is the very predictable condemnation, then we go into a period of hibernation, no one hears about it. What is a game changer in all this? I mean, do you see a tipping point coming with North Korea?
Well, not in the foreseeable future. At some point, as their missile program continues to develop and their nuclear weapons program continues, they will reach a point where I think we will all conclude they are a very grave threat to regional stability and indeed to nuclear nonproliferation. I think we've seen over the last several years that the one way that we have of at least slowing them down or gaining some additional time is to engage with them. Now, engagement is very painful to do this with the North Koreans because their record is not very good, and it's very aggravating to have to deal with these guys. But unfortunately, we really don't have an alternative.
And yet engagement kind of assumes that there might be a rational actor on the other side. I know that you've long advocated this engagement. Materially, though, what does that mean at the table? A table that we've been at before and nothing's come of it.
Well, you know, if you look back over the last 25 years, we did, through engagement and the conclusion back in the 90s of the Geneva Agreed Framework, we gained 8 years in which we know that they were not producing any fissile material. Now, since then, we've been sporadically engaged with them, sometimes through the so-called six-party process. And when that was going on, actually, we knew pretty well that they were not producing any plutonium then. We had less insight into their enriched uranium program. But I think the record is that when they are not engaged or when they are not bound by any international agreement that they're observing, which is the case now, then they proceed ahead with their nuclear development.
And it's interesting just that you underscore the point that as a stalling tactic, it's at least valuable even in that. You know, Ambassador Bosworth, all of this comes as President Obama will be in Japan shortly, first stop on his Asia tour. You know, if he's indeed to execute this Asia pivot, you were part of his Asia team at one time. What's taken so long?
Well, I think there have been some distractions, and I'm not sure at the same time how well articulated the Asian pivot or rebalancing or whatever we're calling it these days really was at the outset. It seemed to most people to imply one of two things, or both. One, that we were going to somehow refocus on Asia away from the greater Middle East and the two wars that we'd been fighting there for some time. Or two, that somehow it was an effort to deal with